everybody. Welcome back. It is episode number 16 of the Fantasy Cast now. Season's coming to an end quick here. Episode count is getting quite high. I'm your co-host, Lachlan McTagg. Joined alongside me, as always, is Ty White. Ty rocking a fresh Bills jersey. How was the game on Sunday? Tell us all about that.
For sure. It was an awesome experience. I'm so glad to be able to go to a game because they're changing COVID rules now in Canada, or at least for like a little while, and makes it harder to go across the border. But I was able to go across with a couple of friends from high school, and it was so cool. Before the game, I got a cool story. So we had pretty good seats. We're like right down. We were on the Bills side of the bench, but we were on like the Panthers side of them warming up. And me and my friend actually yelled over to Stephon Gilmore, and he was so close to us. We actually got his attention. He kind of like waved to us and said hi. I was just like, that might be a future Hall of Famer, played with Brady and Belichick. I mean, that was just so cool that he did that. And then on top of that, Bill smoked him. So it was a great game. Lots of not sober people in the crowd and tailgating. So it was a really fun experience. Yeah.
Yeah, that's Buffalo for you.
Yeah.
How was the weather? How was the weather? How cold was it in the stadium?
About -2. It was the feet were a little cold, but other than that, I mean, like it was fine. It was really cool. It was snowing a bit too, which was really cool. Like for like a Christmas time game. So that was awesome. It was really cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. I know it sucks because before the season, I kind of wanted to maybe try and go to Foxborough and see a Pats versus Bills game, but of course they're playing the week I'm home right now. So
yeah. Oh yeah, that's true. They are playing this week.
Yeah, they're playing this week in Foxborough, and it sucks because from Springfield, it's about an hour and a half to Gillette from the Billet House. So and of course, like why would I go and like volunteer myself to watch the Pats play anyone else but the Bills? Like there's just no point.
No, that's true. You gotta see the boys. So obviously you're at home right now. How are you doing?
Good. I got home a couple days ago. And it was a long haul, about a 9-hour travel day in total.
Oh wow.
Yeah. We got up at a friend I'm living with in Springfield. We got up at around I got up around 7. We left at 8:15-ish. Just flew across the highway driving back, and then made it across the border in about 6 hours, which was a pretty good time.
Yeah, very good time.
And took the train back into the city and have been spending a couple nights in Toronto, before seeing some friends and family and whatnot for Christmas. And then after that, just kind of relaxing before we go back on the 2nd of January.
Absolutely. You got to relax. And speaking of relaxing, actually, this is going to be our last episode of this year, at least. I'm going to be taking a small break. And Lachlan might be an episode back before I am. We're going to be taking a small break with Fantasy Cast, only right for Christmas time and holidays. I think we deserved it. 15, 16 episodes in a row. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. And this one should be a fun one as well. Last one, we're going into starts and sits. And this is not pretty, or is not as pretty as we would have liked it to have been, perhaps. Let's start off with the starts, Loch.
Yeah, we told you to start Dawson Knox versus the Carolina Panthers. And Dawson Knox didn't have the biggest days. It was Gabriel Davis who really took the cake, I'd say.
Stole the show. Exactly.
You expect Diggs to put up good numbers any day, but Gabriel Davis was outstanding for the Bills.
Yeah.
Knox put up 7.8 points, so it's under the 10-point threshold. So unfortunately, we got that one wrong.
Next up, we had Tyler Higbee versus Seattle. One of those other games. This is so weird that this happens week after week now. He didn't even play in that game. And once again, it was too late for us to change it because we didn't know. But I'm going to tell you, there's a technicality in a second. But obviously, we're not counting Tyler Higbee. So Tyler Higbee versus Seattle, we think definitely that he would have gotten the points, seeing as they smoked the Seahawks. But unfortunately, didn't play.
Yeah, and again, I mean, we saw a doubleheader on Monday and a doubleheader on Tuesday.
Very weird schedule.
Very, very, very weird. So on that Tuesday nighter, we had you starting Russell Wilson for the Rams. This was a colossal flop. Russell Wilson put up 5 points against the Rams. The Rams played solid, so all credit to them, but pretty big flop on our end.
Yes. This one is the technicality. We have Robbie Anderson versus Buffalo. So he put up 9.2 points, and we're going to pretend, because it's Christmas, that this is kind of like he did basically get you there, and Tyler Higbee with that. We're going to put that as a check mark, which we don't usually do on the fantasy cast. So we're going to say that was technically right, even though it was wrong. Little Christmas present to ourselves. Robbie Anderson versus Buffalo, 9.2.
Yeah, last one, we were very right about this. Brandon Cooks versus Jacksonville. Holy smokes. He put up 29 points. That was a big day for Brandon Cooks.
For sure. So that was fantastic.
As the Jags are looking to secure the first overall pick again.
And they're on pace to do that.
Because you know what they say, when the Lions win, they lose.
Oh my goodness. That is absolutely so true. And I don't know how they beat the Cardinals. The Cardinals had been slipping in the NFC.
Weren't they up 17-0 at half or something like that?
It was something like that. Yeah. I remember
the Lions were just killing them. And it was like, what's going on?
At the Bills game, we were all checking the screen, and like they were showing stat leaders, and Jared Goff was one of them. Everyone's looking at like the hell's going on in this game. So it was really weird. But yeah, so Brandon Cooks, that makes us 2 for 4 for our start picks. Going to our sit picks. Chuba Hubbard versus Buffalo. I was there for that one. I did try to wait him because he's Canadian. I mean, I do like him. I respect him. But we predicted that you should sit him, and we were right. You only put up 5.1 points.
I told you to sit Tyler Boyd versus Denver, and we were a bit wrong on that. He had a nice little day for himself. He put up 20 points.
Very nice day. It's a big win for the Bengals. Kyle Pitts versus San Francisco. Told you to sit him. He barely beat us. He put up 11.7 points. That was like 2 weeks in a row. He's put up that kind of same number, but that's barely a loss for us. So that's technically wrong though.
Next one, we told you to sit Matt Ryan versus San Francisco. We had another close run in. Matt Ryan put up 14 on Sunday versus San Fran in a pretty crucial loss.
Yep.
Basically decides the fate of the season for the Falcons at this point.
Yeah.
But yeah, it put up 14, very close to the 15-point mark, but just under. So
we were right.
Yeah.
And then you have Ryan Tannehill versus Pittsburgh, which we were convincingly right about this one. 10.9 points there. That brings us 3-5, and overall we went 5 for 9 in our picks, with that one technicality, Robbie Anderson, which isn't bad for
no, seriously, not bad at all.
Some good ones, some bad ones. Namely, actually, the 20-point Tyler Bullard one and the Wilson were pretty bad, but Cooks and Tannehill were good. So there we go.
Yep.
We're going on big weeks now, and we're starting off with quarterbacks. And oh my gosh, this is someone we mentioned him last week, but we didn't know that he was going to go against Green Bay, lose because they went for 2-point conversion, and still put up 35 points. Is Tyler Huntley. Wow, what a great game for him. So Tyler Huntley 35, Patty Mahomes at 30 versus the Chargers. We're not going to talk about that. Jalen Hurts had 28. Cam Newton had 24. Cam Newton actually played a pretty good game in Buffalo. He scored a rushing touchdown, did a Superman thing. That was pretty cool. I've always liked Cam.
He's just 0-12 now as the Panthers starter again.
That's all. I mean, will he squeeze out a win before the rest of the season? I think he will. And the kicker was actually injured for that game, so I saw
he pulled his groin in warm up, didn't he?
Yeah, I literally watched. I watched that happen, and then PJ Walker and Zylstra started taking field goals, and PJ Walker shanked one by at least 20 yards, and the whole crowd started laughing at him. So that was hilarious.
He's a quarterback.
Yeah, exactly. You don't want him kicking the ball. And then Justin Herbert had 24. Could have had a lot more if Donald Parham had caught a touchdown and Cook had caught a touchdown, which they definitely should have, and it wasn't Herbert's fault. And that game versus the Chargers. I mean, it was an exciting game. But
say what you want about Mahomes and the Chiefs now, but what are they, what was that stat, like 12-0 on the road versus AFC West teams now?
Yes, now I think it is 12-0.
That's a pretty legit stat right there.
It's very impressive, but I'm by no means worried because it was a weird game in the sense that like our fourth downs actually didn't work. Fourth down conversions didn't work as much, and we could have taken field goals and got points. But honestly, I like our style of aggressiveness.
The other thing
went down and got.
The other thing was it was an overtime loss.
Yeah.
So
that's also true. And if we got the ball, we could have won as well. But it was hard to stop the Chiefs. So, good 2 performances from that game in the top 5.
Yeah. Moving on to wide receivers, Cooper Kupp. Man, this guy's a robot.
Best player in the NFL, maybe.
Honestly, yeah, he's so in form this season. He put up 34 on Tuesday Night Football.
Tuesday nighter. This is a weird one.
Tyreek put up 32. Another solid outing for him. The Chiefs' offense was rolling. They were back to their 2020 ways, and the ways that we've been used to seeing in the last couple of years.
No, for sure.
Again, we mentioned Brandon Cooks. He put up 29. Very, very nice day for him.
Yep.
Gabe Davis, big performance out of him. He put up 25. And Christian Kirk, we've mentioned his name a few times.
Yeah.
Bit of uncertainty. I know DeAndre Hopkins is shut down for the season, unfortunately. There's still hope that he's going to be back for the playoffs. And I mean, if you're a Cardinals fan, you better hope that he's back for the playoffs the way that they're playing right now, because they're going to need him for sure. But Kirk had 24 points.
Yeah. Moving on to running backs, another weird one. Duke Johnson. I swear we've not said his name a single time in the Fantasy Cast this year. Running back for the Texans, obviously, who smoked the Jags. 25.7 for him. Jonathan Taylor, 23, in a big win for him. I think that was Saturday Night Football versus the Patriots. I think it was Saturday. Yeah, and they did beat the Patriots that game.
That was huge. What did we say 2 weeks ago, man? It's a horrible time for a Pats bye week.
Yeah,
literally the worst time. And the Pats came out in Indy and they did not look good.
No, I mean,
at all.
The Colts are a very good team right now, and it helped that they were playing at home.
They are, but I feel like if New England doesn't have that bye week, then it's a much favorable matchup for New England.
I agree, but he had 23 nonetheless. Yeah. Jeff Wilson Jr., running back for the 49ers, he had 19. Antonio Gibson playing a lot better in the last. I think if you look at it from statistical point of view, he might be a top 5 running back on the bottom half of the season. He has 18.5. He's doing a lot better. Eckler, who actually went down early in the game and didn't come back, had 18.2 himself in that game versus Kansas City.
Moving on to tight ends now. Travis Kelce took the cake this week. Oh my goodness. 41, 2 touchdowns, including that overtime winning touchdown, which was gorgeous.
Tremendous tackling on the
all credit to Kelce, though. Unbelievable athlete and tight end. And I have Mahomes and Kelce on my fantasy team, and I was like, finally,
there's a good week.
I now remember why last season I went 10-1 in our fantasy league in the regular season.
That was why. It was.
I look, and Mahomes and Kelce combined for 70 points right off the bat. I'm like, it's a cakewalk.
That's all you need.
I mean, I put up 150 with a Jerry Jeudy goose egg. Like that's unreal. But anyway, enough about my fantasy success. Mark Andrews put up 35. Again, that was an unfortunate loss. Have you seen that mic'd up clip of Harbaugh?
Yeah, like talking that they were going for it.
Well, he let the players decide though. He didn't actually make a call himself. Like everyone's coming at Harbaugh saying, "Oh, just kick the extra point." All the players are like, "Hey man, like let's go win this. We think we can go win this." And of course, the pass gets tipped, and they miss out on going to overtime. And you do what you can. It's unfortunate, but
for sure.
Mark Andrews had a very, very nice day against the Packers, 35 points. Hunter Henry had 25. Lone bright spot there for the Pats. Dalton Schultz had 20, and Dallas Goedert also had 20 points.
Yeah, pretty big week for tight ends. No
Yeah.
one lower than 20 in the top 5. Next, just missed it, was Kittle. He had about 15, I think. Defense and special teams. New Orleans versus Tampa Bay. 18 points. Wow, that was a very strange game. It was the only time in his career that Brady's been shut out at home. First time he's been shut out in years, I think it was. And I mean, you had that clip where that guy was just standing like that after I think Brady fumbled, and then I remember one of the top comments was, "I got Super Bowl rings older than you," or something like that. So it was pretty funny. I mean, NFL memes had a great day.
The sad thing is though, is like the Bucks just aren't gonna lose until February now.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean that's probably the reality of it. Yeah,
like God damn it, New Orleans, you pissed off Brady again. Like,
yeah. How fired up do you think
come on.
he is? He's coming back, and I think they got the Panthers, so they should destroy them. Poor Cam Newton.
Yeah, that's
Here comes his 13th loss as a Panther.
Yep.
Dallas versus the Giants, 16 points, pretty convincing there. Diggs, another interception. He is the most now by any player since I think like the 70s, in decades for interceptions, which is extremely impressive.
It's historic for him.
Yeah.
And I mean, again, we've talked about this.
Diggs
He either picks you off or you have about 5 or 10 yards of clearance.
Yeah, for a touchdown usually. So yeah, very unique player. That
it's a big risk reward for him because there's times where it just turns himself into an island, like no fly zone there. But then there's other times where he gets a little bit humbled, I'd say.
Yeah, absolutely. But nonetheless, impressive with all those interceptions. And then you have Pittsburgh versus Tennessee finishing off the defense special teams, who also had 16. Pittsburgh defense, great games. They're playing a lot better. That brings us to our waiver wire. And I'm gonna leave the Bills player to Lachlan, so I'll get started with Justin Fields, quarterback, obviously, for Chicago. He's only 26% rostered. We told you to pick him up last week, and he broke our threshold for what we consider a start in fantasy football. He had 16 versus Minnesota, despite the loss. And Matt Nagy, just questionable coach, questionable team.
Man, but they had fire Nagy chants both in the stadium in Chicago, like at Soldier Field, and at the United Center for the Bulls game.
Yep.
Like, that's brutal.
That is just terrible. They were,
that is terrible.
At his kids' high school games. I mean, it's just, he's not. I don't think he's a terrible coach, but he probably needs to leave Chicago. But they also have Seattle and the Giants coming up, so those should be two pretty good performances for Justin Fields.
Chicago also has like nothing to lose.
No, and rookie QB, you're starting him every game, getting him that experience.
Let him rip.
Exactly. I sincerely think he can finish with over 20 in his next two. Let's hear the next one.
Gabriel Davis, wide receiver for the Bills. He's only about 20% rostered in most leagues right now. So a very under the radar guy. He was slated on the waiver wire a lot higher coming into last week, and then he'll be a very hot commodity this week as well. Yep. A large in part due last week because Emmanuel Sanders didn't suit up. And Cole Beasley's been very in and out, to say the least.
For
sure. 11, 15, and 23 in his last 3 games. So Allen's looking his way more, and Gabriel Davis is getting open quite a bit as well, because Stephon Diggs is going to draw the eyes of any team's top corner and any team's top safety to look to double team him when he goes deep. And Gabe Davis has proven this season that he's a pretty reliable target.
Absolutely. Great points there. Finishing off with Ronald Jones II, obviously running back for Tampa Bay, only about 40% rostered, 38% to be exact. Lenny's out. Fournette is out for the rest.
We'll talk about that a little bit later too.
For sure. But he's out, which is concerning. They picked up Le'Veon Bell, actually, because
Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown in the same locker room again. Yeah. Oh my God.
That's incredible. Like, can you imagine this team in 2016? How ridiculous
it would be. No, dude.
But and he's a capable back. I mean, he's had 9, his highest is about 9 points this year, but that's only because he's not seen the touches. But still, he's a good player. He was a great running back last year, and he should carry hefty load for the Buccaneers going into the playoffs, which we predict they'll be undefeated going into the playoffs. from this point on. We're moving on to starts and sits for the upcoming week 16 of the NFL season. We'll go back and forth here. I'll start off with Javonte Williams versus Las Vegas. Williams is at 20, 29, 21, and 12 in his last 4. He's very hot. Vegas, even though they did have a big win versus the Browns, questionable defense sometimes. Javonte, probably the hottest rookie running back right now.
I'd agree with that.
Yeah.
Next start, Gronk versus Carolina. Why? Because Gronk has had 13, 19, 21, 11, and 4 in his last 5 games. Obviously, that last week's performance was not great because the Bucs got shut out.
Yeah.
Very, very, very red zone, very good red zone target, I should say, and very touchdown dependent also. So we think he's going to get another touchdown this week, because if he doesn't, then he's not going to get that many points. But if he does, then you're looking at like another solid 20-point performance from Gronk.
For sure.
And again, coming off the shutout, Brady's mad. Everyone's mad in Tampa. They're going to come out with fire, and they're just going to steamroll the Panthers.
I completely agree. Another tight end, Dawson Knox versus New England. We got this one wrong last week, but this one's a unique game because the Bills they're back on a little bit of a roll. And we feel like slot receivers are very high in demand for this game for the Bills, because New England has such a good secondary, namely JC Jackson, on the outside of the field. And we just feel like the Bills will try to be working the inside. Josh Allen needs to be making throws that he's comfortable with. I see Knox getting a touchdown, maybe even 2 this game. So I think Dawson Knox will be a big part in that game. Start him versus New England.
Yeah, and I think that the weather is going to be a little bit better for the New England game than it was in Buffalo the first time these teams played.
Absolutely.
And even in that game, the windy game, Dawson Knox got his fair share of looks, I'd say. So
for sure.
Don't expect much to change, because New England's going to try and pressure Buffalo to throw to the outsides of the field and make really, really fine finesse throws to the sideline to receivers.
Yeah.
And I think that, if Dawson Knox just kind of releases on a block, goes out in the middle of the field, he can get, 5-10 yard gains every time he catches the ball.
Absolutely.
Just easy points, easy yardages, and a touchdown as well would be quite good. Next one, we are telling you to start Cole Beasley.
And this is if it's healthy.
Yes.
If he's healthy.
Because he was on the COVID list. And of course, we all know that he is not vaccinated. So he will have to be out a minimum of 10 days, I believe, is what the health and safety protocol says.
It was something like that. And it was different in the sense that, like, I think for vaccinated players, you needed like 2 negative COVID tests before the game. You might need something else, but a different requirement in terms of.
There's more. Anyway, you put it. There's more barriers for Beasley to come back off the health and safety protocol list. But this is if he is healthy, you should start him
for sure. And we'll do a backup right now in case for the first time, if he's not healthy by that time, Gabriel Davis in place of him. That would be our pick. So we'll go with that. Ending off, AJ Dillon versus Cleveland. Quite simple. Packers have already clinched the division. More touches for him for sure, because you want to rest better players than Aaron Jones. And this is a game I can see them getting off to a quick lead in. He's at 13, 26, 15, 27, and 10 in his last 6. Very, very good player. We feel like he's going to help beat those Browns.
Yeah, and again, I mean, Aaron Jones will not be seeing a lot of time in the next couple of weeks because they want him to be 110% for the playoffs and rolling. So yeah, it makes sense. AJ Dillon is a very, very good start if you have him and you kept him after we told you to pick him up on the waiver wire.
Absolutely.
On to sits now. We're telling you to sit Mike Gesicki versus New Orleans. New Orleans is hot. They're on a little bit of a roll the other way, and all of a sudden they're kind of back in the playoff mix in the NFC. They've played their way back into that conversation again, and it's a toss up in the wild card in the NFC right now.
It's a it's so much, in my opinion, worse than the AFC in
Yeah.
terms of the quality of the teams getting in. But it makes for an exciting race because you got 6 and 7 teams who were competing like last night, like Philly 7-7 now. They're in a playoff spot, I believe. Like you said, New Orleans is right back in it. Very interesting race in the NFC.
Yeah. Going back to Jusicki, though, in his last 3 games, his highest point output has been 11 points. So a little bit on the downswing, and we expect that to continue versus an improving New Orleans defense as well.
For sure. Next up, we say sit AJ Green versus Indianapolis. It's quite simple. One is because Cardinals are not hot right now. They've been dropping games left and right, namely to the Lions more recently, unfortunately. Yes. Indianapolis is an extremely hot team with a very good defense. And, DeAndre Hopkins, although he's probably going to be out for that game, the whole year he's been limiting AJ Green's touches. He's not as used to being the primary receiver out there. They also have Christian Kirk and Rondale Moore to keep in mind as well. Good weapons.
Yeah, Rondale Moore also is questionable at this point in the week. But we can't forget about the backfield duo of Edmonds and Connor. Yeah. And James Conner is turning into a receiver, although he had a bit of a down week compared to recent times. But with Edmonds returning, though, those I think they'll be heavily leaned on, especially with DeAndre Hopkins' absence.
Absolutely.
Next sit, we're telling you to sit Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Mm-hmm. Edwards-Helaire is not a name that we've mentioned very much on the program.
Not at all. No.
He's kind of been good enough to play week in, week out, but hasn't been anything kind of noteworthy.
Yeah.
But we're telling you to sit him this week versus Pittsburgh because Pittsburgh is starting to play a little better football.
Yeah.
And their run defense specifically has been very good all season.
Yeah. Huge win for them last week. Still very much in playoff contention. Mm-hmm. They needed it versus pretty good team, the Titans, and they got it. Next up, CJ Uzomah, I think that's how you say it, a tight end for the Bengals. We're going to tell you to sit him versus Baltimore. Baltimore, simply, they have very strong defense, except, versus Green Bay, obviously, you're going to have a tough time. But against a team like the Bengals, who have a questionable offensive line, much more manageable. So Uzomah has not been great lately. In his last 5, his highest output was 9. So everything else was below 5 or below. So not very impressive. Even though he's had big weeks in the past, we feel like this one is definitely a must win for Baltimore, especially it's a huge divisional game. I personally think that Baltimore will come out on top.
Yeah.
I think the defense will do well. So yeah, telling you to sit him.
Next one, our boy. We're telling you to sit our boy Pat Freiermuth.
Unfortunately, we like this guy.
Yeah, we hate to do this to our good pal Pat. But Kansas City is playing much better. Those early season rumors of them kind of being a little lackluster on the defensive end are long gone.
Yeah.
And also Pittsburgh's been a bit on and off lately offensively.
Yeah.
Some days, Big Ben has looked good, and then other days he's looked like a telephone pole in the pocket, literally as mobile as a concrete structure.
Not that mobile.
Not at all. And I think for this game against Kansas City, if anyone on that Pittsburgh offense is going to have the big day, it's either going to be Najee Harris or Deontay Johnson.
Absolutely. Not Chase Clownpool. No offense. Just kidding. Chase, we love you.
He's Canadian. We love him. Does a lot of great stuff. Just
no music at practice. That's the only problem. But yeah, those are our starts and sits for week 16. Yeah, pretty good. Should be a fun week. Saturday games because some Christmas games. Looking forward to that. Who is our fantasy player of the week? You might be wondering. It is not Travis Kelce. That's not biased at all. So don't talk to me about it. Yeah, it is Tyler Huntley. Why is it Tyler Huntley? It's because he played Green Bay. Simply because he played Green Bay. Green Bay, the only team in the league to clinch their division so far. They have an amazing defense.
Their division also sucks, but
okay. I mean, fair enough. Good, very good point. But they're still a very strong team. Was Huntley played great. He had 215 passing yards, 2 passing touchdowns, 73 rushing yards, 2 rushing touchdowns. So 4 total touchdowns and over 300 total yards for a backup. That's great any day of the week, especially for 35 fantasy points. And if someone was ballsy enough to start him last week, that was a huge payoff, and you probably won your fantasy week because of that. It's playoff time. So there you go, Huntley.
Yeah, Tyler Huntley, congratulations. This week's fantasy player of the week. On to the fantasy question we go. Yeah, I can read it if you want.
By all means.
Yeah, okay. Should you worry about the Bucs offense come playoff time with all the recent injury news surrounding them?
Yeah, so obviously you have Godwin out, and then Lenny's out as well. People seem to be dropping like flies, but obviously I do not think you have to worry about them whatsoever. Most if not all Buccaneers starters, start offensive starters should be starters on your fantasy team as well. They've proven to be a reliable duo of players, or like very valuable team to start in fantasy football, apart from 1 week against New Orleans. New Orleans just had a good week. Simple as that.
Yeah, I also think Godwin's out. You know, he was having a great season, and that's just a terrible injury, you know, to tear an ACL. Obviously wish him nothing but the best. And then Fournette out what looks like to be the remainder of the season. Hope to get him back for playoffs. But, you know, look at what Ronald Jones did last year. Fournette really didn't come into his own in Tampa until the playoffs.
That's very true. You did not see that much.
Ronald Jones was the lead back in Tampa Bay for the latter portion of the 2020 NFL season.
Yes.
And then also Antonio Brown is back from his 3-game suspension.
Yeah.
This coming week. And then they signed Le'Veon Bell, who, I mean, obviously not the Pittsburgh Steelers Le'Veon Bell. And obviously Antonio Brown is not prime Antonio Brown, but still, it's not like they're lacking depth on the offensive side of the football.
Not at all. And that's why you don't need to be worried, especially if you're starting Tom Brady as quarterback. I mean, you start him anyways. That was just one bad week. If you look at some of the receiving cores that he had in New England, this is looking much better. And also Mike Evans has been a extremely trusty receiver this season. No, exactly. Like, that's so true. Look at New England. Look at apart from Gronkowski, you had
Edelman and Chris Hogan.
You had Wes Welker, good receivers, but not amazing. People say Randy Moss. Randy Moss was not there for that long. Obviously they were great when they were together, but still,
it was probably
it was underachieving receivers.
The best football teams ever assembled, I'd say.
For sure. But yeah, that's our fantasy question of the week right there. Do not panic from the Bucs defense. That concludes, what is this, episode 16?
Yeah.
Wow, of the fantasy cast, starting from basically the start of school to Christmas time, which is perfect. Let's list off some matchups coming up Thursday night. 49ers and Titans. That should be a very good game. I'm looking forward to watching that. And then obviously Christmas Day, Browns and Packers. Once again, good matchup. And Colts and Cardinals. That is going to be the best.
That's a great matchup.
Yes. In my opinion, I honestly think the Colts can win that one. I think they will
Colts
win that one.
Well, yeah, because since Arizona started 7-0,
yeah,
they've gone 3-4 since.
Yeah. Very impressive. Or not impressive, actually. Impressive for other teams to come in and have their way with them. But I don't like that.
That Buffalo New England game is going to be crucial as well, though.
Very crucial. Some big games this week. Chiefs Steelers, like we mentioned. Chargers facing the Texans. Please capitalize on that.
I got the Chargers defense, man.
Good luck. I hope they prove you well. Monday night, Saints get way too many primetime games. They're playing the Dolphins. I mean, whatever. But yeah, that concludes this episode. Sincerely, on behalf of the Fantasy Cast, we'd like to wish all of you at home a very, very Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. We hope you just enjoyed time off with your family. Hope you watch some football. There's on Christmas Day on Fox, there's a great, it's called All Madden. There's a documentary about John Madden, who was, the father of the EA football games, the football video games, and the father of football broadcasting, like revolutionizing broadcasting. Amazing coach too. I'd recommend watching that. Just have a great Christmas and holiday season, everybody.
Yeah, and Ty is now going to be on a little bit of a break here. So it'll likely next week, it'll likely be myself, and we'll see if boss man Haggith wants to swing by.
See if Chaggith will swing by for an episode or not. Maybe you might have another special guest on too.
Might sign him to a professional tryout contract here. See what he does.
That'd be incredible. That I'm looking forward to that. If you guys.
So yeah, again, thank you so much, guys. This has wrapped up episode 16. I believe we've talked about everything that needs to be talked about.
Good luck in fantasy playoffs.
Yeah, seriously, playoffs go on. Semifinals this week for most leagues, I'd say.
Yeah.
At least
Absolutely.
for our league. Yeah, I mean, I'm in the consolation. You're in the battle for last place here, but
I'm in the toilet. To be honest with you, I haven't checked that app in 2 weeks. I don't even know if I'm still hanging around. I don't know if I won my consolation matchup. I have no idea, to be honest with you. Pretty sure I've been starting Igwe for the last 3 weeks and just didn't care. So
that's what happens when you don't make the playoffs. You just give it up. You're just like, yeah, no.
You just watch football and don't pay attention to the fantasy side of it.
Yeah. Again, guys, happy holidays. Have a great time with family and friends, whatever you may be doing. Just relax. You deserve it. For everyone here at the Fantasy Cast, he is Ty White. I'm Loch McTagg. You'll see Ty soon. You'll see me soon as well.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one.